Welcome back to the channel. So far I've made a cowl, collar, upper armor, and today I'm going to be making the arms and shoulders for Batman. Well, the Batman, which is no longer coming out in 2021. Now it's not coming out till 2022, although I'm not really surprised considering that it's 2020 and everything that's going on, and they had to stop shooting the film right away. But I'll be rambling anymore. Let's just go ahead and get right into the video. Okay, I'm going to start with the base patterns for the arm and the shoulder. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this is just the center and the side. You're going to need 2 of them. Flip it over, cut another one. And the edges of these, you're going to want to bevel, which is cut at an inward angle on both of them, so that whenever we glue them together, it'll have a nice shape. And I'm going to glue these together with contact cement. I'm going to apply some to each side, let them sit for 15 minutes, and then bond them together. My heat gun to help put the proper shape into these that I need from the base gluing. Okay, as far as the heating goes, I just bowed this out a bit, made it a bit more round, and with the actual arm piece, I just heated it so it would round up the rest of the way. Now, I've already built the left one, which is how I finalized some of the patterns for this one, so I didn't mention it thus far, but I'm just making the right one in this video, because the left one up to this point has already been built, and that was just so I could, like, refine all the patterns and all that stuff as I'm making it. But it was not fun. It was actually more complicated than building the chest. So there's that. And next, I'm going to start adding on some of the other accent pieces. Okay, the next piece we're going to work on is this one that kind of looks like a Rorschach ink blot. And we're going to need to close these V-cuts with contact cement, and then glue the edges together and line this up and glue it together as well. Okay, now that I got this heated so it is a bit more round, I need to line it up on here and prepare to glue it. And I just lined up these seams here with these seams. They just sit a little bit on the outside, and then with about a ½ inch of space between this and this is where I just line it up to mark to glue it. Next I have the tab pieces, and I impressed a circle into them. I just did this with a piece of plastic tube I had lying around. You could also do it with a ballpoint pen or just not do it. But these are going to get glued onto these ends here. Accent pieces are these. They kind of look like stubby popsicle sticks. There's going to be 3 that are going to go on the top and 1 down here on the bottom, and super glue for these. circles that I put on came from a bag of foam shapes. There's the smallest circle. I don't expect everybody to have this, so I will try to remember to trace that out in the pattern. However, it was really hard for me to cut it and get it that exact, so I just use these. Alright, next I'm going to use some scrap leather that I cut into 2 pieces that I'm going to apply here, so I can put my Velcro onto the leather and the hook part, the hook and loop, onto the piece itself. Okay, Velcro is on. Now I can Velcro this and hold it in place while I work on the rest of it. I did cut this into 2. You could do 2 or 3 or 1. I prefer to at least have 2. That way I can get the bottom a little tighter and the top a little looser, or vice versa. That's pretty much the reasoning for that. Now, as far as this goes, this is meant to fit me specifically. I can put up measurements for the inside of it, of course, and that's not a big deal, but this thing fits me from my arm up to my shoulder like a second skin. So everybody's different. You can skip this part of the process as far as using my patterns. Use them as a guide if you want, but you can wrap your arm in the same way that this fits my arm, with saran wrap and some duct tape. Draw a straight line where you want to cut it on the bottom and the top of the piece, and then from there you can just cut it into strips. For example, mine, when I got done removing it from my arm, I cut into 6 strips, which made these, 5 strips, which made these 5 pattern pieces. You can do more or less cuts. The more cuts you do, I feel like the less heat shaping you have to do, if that helps anything. But now we're going to start doing the other accent pieces. So there's no pattern for this. It's just a piece of 2mm EVA foam, and I cut one piece at 1 1/8 inches, and the other piece I cut at 1 inch, so it's just the tiniest bit skinnier. So whenever I line them up, there's a bit of offset on either side. And I'm going to take the skinnier piece and put some cuts into this with my X-Acto knife. Okay, I didn't actually cut all the way through the foam. I just scored it. It did cut through a little bit in some spots, like you can see right there. But that's fine as long as you're not cutting your foam into ribbons. Now I'm going to glue the smaller one that I cut the lines on top of the other one. Okay, this is about 12 inches long. That's probably too long by a bit, actually. Oh no, that's actually just enough. I got lucky there. So next I'm going to glue this around it, and I'm going to glue it level. So there will be a bit of overlap in the front, but it's going to line up pretty much evenly here in the back. This rectangular piece and put some cuts in it, just following along the border. And I just glued that on with some super glue opposite my Velcro, so basically in the center on the front of it. Okay, so starting from the front of the piece, I'm going to go ahead and attach these around. And this is one of the things I've changed in my own EVA foam version from what you see either in the trailers or in any photos of the stuntman wearing the suit, is that this piece doesn't taper down at the bottom. I tapered it down to fit my arm. It actually goes straight, but I didn't want to figure out how to try and fix all that slop, so I just didn't do it that way. If you do happen to build yours, you can align the patterns however you choose, but I just start with the 2 triangles at the front and then work the 2 panels on the side and trim off any excess. At a point to decide what exactly to do with your individual arm and shoulder piece. And what I did was glued the shoulder to the arm. And I glued it at an angle and at a point where I can move it and it'll brush the straps of my chest armor, but it won't dig into them. And if I go like this, it totally raises up over them. So I can actually lift my arm up and move it about with a fair amount of articulation without this bashing into other parts of the costume. So that's why I put it where I did. Another option would be to attach this to this with a couple pieces of elastic. I say a couple, that way it'll pretty much hold it in its place, but it will still be able to flex and move, and then perhaps a solid strap that would run underneath the straps for your chest armor and attach to the neck piece itself. If you look at photos of the stuntman without the cape, that kind of looks like how they actually have it attached. And I didn't do that just for sake of simplicity, and because I'm trying to get this done before trick-or-treat night too. But for that, I just glued mine to this. However, it didn't have the right angle. I had to build it up about 25 millimeters in order to get it set at the right angle. Okay, I've got the shoulder pads glued on both now, and same as before, I had to do a 25 millimeter offset by just stacking up chunks of foam, super glued that in place at the bottom here and at the top, and then just filled it in with some hot glue to make sure it doesn't come apart. Okay, I use a dremel to sand up the seams, and now I'm going to go ahead and Plasti Dip this. I did mask off the area with my leather and Velcro. Alright, now that my Plasti Dip has set, I went and oversprayed it with some medium gray Duplicolor vinyl and fabric. It absorbs nicely into the Plasti Dip so it doesn't leave a layer of spray paint on it. However, I'm going to need to go back through and paint these recesses and other areas black and dry brush a little gold onto here. Well, that's going to pretty much wrap it up for this video. As always, thank you for watching. There's a link to the patterns. I just posted them up on Facebook. Print them out on 8.5 by 11 paper. But as I said in the video, as far as the actual upper arm pattern, I would suggest using that more as a guide and wrapping your arm and taping it and cutting that off and making your own patterns to fit you exactly. The shoulder piece, you could easily just shrink and enlarge those patterns as needed to then attach to the other one like I did in the video, or have it separate. Either way. Hope this video gave everyone some ideas. Thank you as always for watching, and have a great day.